Hello and welcome to the Rest is Football question and answer episode with Alan Shearer, Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. Thank you as always for sending in your questions. We've got some beauties again this week, and thank you for the love of the podcast. I've seen quite a bit on social media, so always puts a smile on our faces. Let's get cracking with H. Ego. I know Alan always says he'd have loved to have played with Wayne Rooney. As a Newcastle fan, I remember us putting in a bid for him before he went to Manchester United. Is he the almost signing Alan was most excited and then possibly disappointed about? Did something similar ever happen to Gary or Micah? Firstly, Alan, is that true? Do you know if Newcastle did put a bid in, did they?
Yeah, they did. I don't know how serious it was, but the old chairman at the time, Freddie Shepherd, bless him, who's no longer with us, I think his son Kenneth was involved in the agency. So, and whether it was to speed a new contract up at Man United or whatever, but Newcastle did put a bid in for him. How serious it was, I'm not quite sure.
When he was at United or Everton?
No, when he was at Man United, yeah.
Well,
yeah, when he was at Man United.
Would they have had it?
I don't know how serious it was, but there was definitely a bid went in for him, yeah.
Well, they would definitely have said no to that one, though, straight away, wouldn't they?
They did, yeah. They did, yeah. But he was. It would have been great, but I don't think realistically it was ever going to happen.
Have you ever been involved, either of you, with you've heard a player might be coming to the club that would excite you, and then that move fell through, or actually perhaps never even materialised? It's just a rumour, or
just rumours. So when the City takeover happened in 2008, you know, in the papers they always do, and it used to piss me off so much because basically you're getting replaced by Dani Alves straight away, and then you sign in Kaka, and then you get in, and Robinho was the only one who was sort of gossiped about, who actually ended up coming from Real Madrid. So he was the first proper superstar to come to Manchester City.
Apart from Pablo Zabaleta.
Oh! Zabaleta, please. Can we?
You've ruined his day.
Can we ban him from?
Can you remember when he was signed?
Ooh, all right. Where he came from, Espanyol.
Correct.
And he, honestly, every time I talk about Zabaleta, it feels as though I'm playing the situation down. But
he started sweating again. Look at him. He's got beads of sweat on his forehead.
It's good to talk though, Mike. Treat this like therapy. Okay.
Let me get some.
So he's fanning himself.
Sweating again. Look.
He's not. That's not a man of the match trophy, is it? You got there waving in front of your face.
But honestly, he came as. I don't want to be disrespectful. He came as a utility.
Isn't it just about to say he came as a utility player?
He come as a utility player. He could play left back. He could play.
Get it off your chest. Come on.
Started, Gaz. He could play right back, and honestly, he could play centre midfield. And this is what annoys me about a lot of people is me and Zabaleta actually played together. He would play right back sometimes. I would play centre half. He would play left back, and I would play right back. So when he came into the club, no disrespect, no one expected great things from him, but it was his hard work, determination. And one good thing about Zabaleta, he's really good technically. He can play on either side that no one gives him credit for. Really, actually, very good on the ball. He just used to be known for his tackling and his anticipation, but he was really good technically. And the season when I got injured, he took my place, and I couldn't get back in.
Did you watch him play and think, oh God, I'm going to struggle to get back in here?
No, I thought, as soon as I'm fit, I'm back in the side. And then he started getting man of the matches every single week. And then City fans started, Pablo Zabaleta. He's got his own song and everything.
Did you not have your own song?
There's only one Micah Rich. Shocking.
Was that your song? There's only one Micah Richards.
It was City fans.
And then they went, there's only one Micah
City
Richards.
fans. You've got to do better.
For that.
City fans.
Hey.
Blood, sweat, and tears from 14 years of age. You can do better than there's only one Micah Richards, surely.
Yeah. That's when you know you're shit, when you've just got there's only one.
No thought got into it whatsoever.
Hey, you're on about signing players.
Yeah.
When we won the league at Blackburn '95, there was huge rumours swirling around Blackburn that we were signing. Don't laugh, lads. That we were signing Zidane and Dugarry. Christophe Dugarry.
Zidane?
Seriously, we were honestly no word of a lie. Yeah, can you imagine? And we ended up signing not one
from
player.
Real Madrid to Ewood Park.
Yeah, we didn't get anyone.
I remember that rumour. I do.
Seriously, it was a serious rumour that Zidane was coming.
Yeah, that's
that was before Real Madrid. That was early. That was when he was playing in.
Well, 95 it was, so
Juventus,
I'm not sure where he was.
Juventus. Well, same thing applies. Anyway. Alison Heathman. Hi, Gary. Have any of you had to go to a fancy dress do or party? If so, what did you go as? And what was the best football party any of you went to and why? Thank you. Love the podcast and obviously the chemistry between you all. Thank you, Alison. Oh, blimey. Fancy dress. I go to Jonathan Ross's kind of Halloween party. Right. I've been a few times, and dressed up obviously as
Dumbo.
Very good. Yeah. I can't remember. Really.
Okay, what sort of people are at those sort of parties? Is it we talking A celebrities? A-listers.
Yeah.
Until he walked in.
Yeah. I think Posh Stokoglu was there. No. That was the previous episode for those that you don't get that. There's usually it's lots of people, perhaps out the comedy world, because obviously Jonathan Ross is his world, and it's always a really good gig. He lays on a great party.
What did you dress up as then?
Well, it's Halloween, so.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. So obviously. Those kind of things. I'm trying to think now what I've been as, but I'm not very good at that dressing up thing. But
I hate dressing up.
It's shit, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know, and you always feel like I don't know.
We used to have one at Newcastle Christmas parties, fancy dress, and we were walking through the town centre, on an afternoon. Thinking, what on earth am I doing? I dressed up as Terry McDermott once. I had his wig on, I had his tash on, I had the black and white top on.
What, you actually borrowed his wig?
I'm walking through Newcastle city centre with a fucking stupid wig on, thinking I'm Terry McDermott. How daft is that?
Did people recognise you?
Well, I stood out a bit, with a black and white top on and a stupid wig on, yeah.
Do you not think the wig would help suit you a little bit now, Alan?
No, definitely not.
I want to see you in a wig. Liam Patrick. Hi, gents. Great episodes recently. Well, thank you. My question is, what was the greatest injustice you each felt you had during your playing careers? I think mine is as obvious as could possibly be. A hand of God.
Not getting any bigger than that, are we?
Hand of God goal. But what about you two in your careers? In a game that you played in? When you were sent off by Uriah Rennie?
Uriah Rennie.
I'll never forget
Don't
that.
slag off Uriah Rennie, mate. He was a top referee, he was.
Move on.
The biggest injustice for me, it's not in a game, but it's in 2011, 2012 season where I had the season of my life and I didn't go to the Euros. That is the biggest injustice. Yeah. And we only took one right back to the tournament.
Get that?
That's an insult.
Proper insult.
Yeah. Proper pie.
Mine, I should actually have 261 Premier League goals. I got robbed of a goal.
Only one?
The goal panel took a goal off me.
What was it?
I don't know who they were. Man United game it was at St James's Park. And Even to this day, it was definitely on target, but they took it off me.
Oh.
We should start a campaign now, lads. Come on, 261.
Well, you work for the Premier League, Al. I'm sure you could just nip into the office.
You imagine if Haaland or if Harry Kane came back and finished with 261 goals. You wouldn't be happy then, would you?
Yeah. Let's get the campaign going.
I had a perfectly good goal, and I'm not just making it up, in the 1991 FA Cup final against Nottingham Forest. And I've seen it, mate. He gave me offside, but I was a yard onside. You can see it quite clearly. And it was a lovely little dinky finish as the ball was crossed. And that was, and you know as a striker, that you know when you're definitely onside. Sometimes you know if it's a bit tight, but you do know when you're onside. And I knew damn well I was onside. And it was like, painful.
See, you moan about VAR and all this technology.
No, I don't. Well,
you would have had more goals, you see. You would have had another goal.
I'd have had lots more goals, wouldn't we? There have been so many penalties as well. Mind you, that's more the law changes, possibly. But no, if VAR is used properly and lightly, then it could still be a good thing. Right. Jack Currar asks, who was Shearer's, a little bit, Mr. Alan Shearer, Mr. Shearer, and Gary's. Oh, he's got Shearer's and Gary's.
Shearer and Gary's, right. Okay.
Favourite strike partner they played with? Well, I think we've probably said this before. I'd go Beardsley, and you'd probably go Sheringham, but that's England.
Teddy Sheringham.
That's England. What about for your club?
I
might
probably Les Ferdinand, Sir Les. Yeah. We got 49 goals, I think, between us. One season we played together.
I'd probably go either Alan Smith at Leicester, and we had a good partnership, or Graham Sharp with Everton, I think. Okay.
Chris Sutton was good as well at Blackburn. Him and Mike New were brilliant. Probably Les.
Chris Sutton's become quite a character, hasn't he, in terms of punditry? What could you see that? No, because he always seemed quite dour. When did he?
Yeah, he was. He didn't really say a lot, to be honest. I couldn't see him having a career in the media at all. But he's done really well, actually. He's a good lad. He's a nice lad.
When you play centre back, Mike, who was your favourite partner?
Richard Dunn.
Oh yes,
I said that before. Yeah,
you've said that before.
Top player.
Lee Jones. Question for Alan and Micah. After Gary famously hosted Match of the Day in his pants, oh God, what would it take for each of you to do the same?
A Calvin Klein deal.
Great answer. Oh dear. If you're listening, Calvin, if you're listening.
When Newcastle win the Premier League.
Yeah?
Would you?
Oh, I mean, it's not going to happen.
No, come on. You said it there, didn't you? Said it. We want this official.
Yes, please, go on. Official.
Yeah.
You'll do Match of the Day in just your pants, yeah?
When Newcastle win the Premier League.
You'll
deal.
Say it.
I will. I'll do it. Definitely. I'll do it. When Newcastle win the Premier League, I will do it, lads.
Whee! He's going to do it. That's it. Come on, we'll all be Newcastle fans. Actually, no, I can't. I'm not sure I want to see that. But anyway. Tony Kavanagh. When I was a kid, my dad said buying Lineker and selling Waddle is like buying a snooker table and selling your cue. So my question is, would you agree with that statement? I would. I got the news that Chris Waddle had been sold a month after I signed for Tottenham, and he was one of the major reasons for signing for Tottenham, because I loved playing with Chris Waddle for England, because he was unbelievably good and a fantastic crosser of the ball. So that was true.
Did you go and see the chairman or anything, or what, or manager or what, when they sold him?
I was on holiday. It was pre-season. I'd signed just at the end of the season in Spain. I was coming back from Barcelona, and they had Gaza and Waddle and Abbott and lots of really good. And I thought, this is a side that with another couple of signings. And when I actually signed, I had a good conversation with Terry Venables, and he was saying, we're really trying to get Beardsley as well. And I thought, we'll take some stopping if. And then all of a sudden it became quite apparent that the club had financial problems. And if you remember, it ended up with like a takeover with Terry Venables, Alan Sugar was involved, all this kind of things, and the club was in a mess. So they got this offer for 4 million something for which was a lot of money at the time for Chris Waddle from Marseille. So from going from signing Beardsley and playing up front with him, suddenly I'd lost Chris. You know, when I got that news on the beach, my agent called me, John Holmes, and he said, you're not going to believe this. They've just sold Chris Waddle. Honestly, it felt like someone had stolen 15 goals a season from my pocket.
Yeah. I get that. He was a great player, wasn't he?
But obviously, Tony's saying he's this is about his dad saying this. He said he's 70 this month and would love for him to know that Lineker heard it. So I did hear it. Thank you very much. Love the pod. Any has that ever happened to you when they've like sold a player or that you've been there? It's quite rare, that, isn't it?
Les, I mean, I was with Newcastle. We scored 49 goals between us. Yeah. That first season we were there, 96, 97, and then in the summer they sold him.
Yeah. Well, this leads like, actually
why?
Just before. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just thinking, why on earth have you sold him? You know, I think he went to Spurs actually. He did. He went to Spurs. Did. I think it was 6 million quid they sold him for. It was like, oh no, couldn't believe it.
Yeah. It's a follow-on question here, so I'm going to ask it now. Graham Smith says, for Alan and Gary, how good was playing with Peter Beardsley? And like me, do you think he would have been even better in the modern game? Well, he would have played brilliantly in any era. I think Peter Beardsley, he was incredibly good, wasn't he? He did that unique little skill trick where he'd flick his left foot in the air, and then no one knew how to play it. I just couldn't work out how he did it. But he was terrific.
Fabulous player, incredible player.
He really
Brilliant, he was.
Matthew Potts, who is the most influential captain you ever played with?
It's a really good question, that. I mean, I'd have to say Vincent Kompany because led us to the FA Cup and the Premier League. But influential, again, I would have to say Richard Dunn, just because he helped guide me from a young teenager at 17 to play first team football. Without him, I would have been absolutely lost. And I think now with all the greatness that happened at City, Richard Dunn tends to get forgotten about with the old City. He won Player of the Year 4 years in a row. Do you know how consistent you have to be?
Wow.
Yeah, I just think he was outstanding.
Jimmy Case at Southampton when I was a youngster, you know.
He was hard, wasn't he?
He had this aura around him that he was a proper hard guy, and everyone looked up to him, and everyone was really scared of him. Actually, you could tell on a pitch that no one really wanted to go near him because back then you could get away with things, and everyone sort of looked up to him in the dressing room. And with me just starting out in football, you know, it was like, oh wow, Jimmy Case has played for Liverpool, and he was a great character. So probably him, you know.
Yeah, I would go probably most influential, maybe Brian Robson, and that's with England. He was, he's kind of a bit of a hero of mine as well. So, and then I'd probably go from, instead of influential, I'll change the word to inspirational, and I might go Gary Mabbott.
Right, yeah.
Because Gary was an incredible human being, but you know what he went through to just play the game, because he was really bad diabetic and had to inject himself like 2, 3, 4 times a day. He was told that he'd never have a career in football, and he had an amazing career. I had nothing but absolute admiration and respect for him. He's a great guy, still going strong. What a career he had, despite all that, all those problems that he had. Chris Copper says, I'd love to ask Alan who he thinks Newcastle's best ever player was, or is in his opinion, obviously. Well, we know what he's going to answer to that question, don't we?
I wouldn't ever say myself.
No.
But Pedro, Alan, Peter Beardsley, I think.
Peter Beardsley?
Yeah, he was unbelievable,
yeah.
Pedro. Yeah, he was a great player.
Yeah.
So I would say
ever
probably
player.
Peter, yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at that, I mean, in my era that I saw, I didn't see Jackie Milburn and all these great players. But certainly in my era, then, yeah, Peter Beardsley.
Can we get him on the pod, Beardsley? Or what? Because a lot of our questions we get asked, certainly to you, Alan and Gaz, Beardsley and Waddle, aren't they? Really? It'd be nice to get them on. You've got, obviously, a great relationship with them.
Oh, yeah. I call him now. Peter. Yeah. I'm sure he could.
Would he?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, of course he would. Of course he would.
Well, the fans seem to...
That's a really good shout.
Yeah, the fans seem to always ask, and the answers that you lot give seem to be those two a lot of the time.
They are. No, it's a good point. Yeah. I'm sure we can absolutely make that happen. James Lavelle, one for you, Micah. What was the transition period like in Manchester City after the takeover to when they were champions?
Oh,
I suppose that means when the new money came in.
Yeah, I think it was. I always have a little bit of fun with it, but it was hard because no matter how well you did, you was always looking over your shoulder. So I mean, with Alan talked about the investment in Newcastle, and we joked about it and how long would it take them to win the league. But obviously, with financial fair play, it's a lot harder to do that now. And it took us, 4 years to win the Premier League from when the money was invested, 3 years for the FA Cup. And when you're in the changing room, you always have these players who, the young boys, people you get on with. But every transfer window, someone else would come in and it would spoil the dynamic within the dressing room. So then you have to meet new people. But it was great in terms of finances because I was one of the highest paid at Man City, which I've said before. And when the takeover happened, within 18 months, I was one of the lowest paid. So when it come to my new deal, even though I wasn't one of the best players, but my average was going to get bumped up, because of that was the average rate going for the player at Man City at the time. But it was strange times at Man City. It was
the change in facilities and infrastructure must have been enormous.
Just as I was leaving, they built the new training ground, which that is one thing I was devastated about because I was involved with not the actual plans, but going to the new training ground, looking at where the changing room was going to be, what we needed in them, the access and all that sort of stuff. But by the time it was built, I didn't even get to use it, which was disappointing. But
what was the old training ground called again, Micah?
Carrington.
City?
On Carrington, right near Man United's training ground.
I'm going to say that's what United.
Yeah, it was both at Carrington.
You side by side.
It was literally side by side.
Could you see each other training?
Not really. It was like obviously massive fields, loads of acres. You couldn't see them, but it was literally you go around the corner and they're just round. Yeah, it was mad. But in terms of what Man City have done, and I know a lot of people always talk about, Old Trafford needs to improve and all that, but they've built this tunnel club at Man City, copied it from Barcelona, and the hospitality is second to none. The seating is second to none. They've still got a load of the old stuff there, which is great to see. But they've just built something that is so special that it can't be competed with. And now they're on with another sort of arena. So they've got MEN Arena, but now Man City are building arena just behind the stadium. It's incredible what they're doing there.
Incredible complex there. Now I've been there a few times interviewing people and such. Paul Crampton. Golf question. With the Masters a month away, have you or Alan ever played Augusta?
Well, I've never played it, but I've been 6 times.
To watch the
and
Masters,
it is, I would say, I don't know. In terms of a sporting arena,
it's magical, isn't it?
Oh, it's just out of this world. It's just incredible. How they make it work, the respect. It's got something. It's just got this. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't think a better word than that. Magical. It's got something magical about Augusta. It's just incredible. You've played it, haven't you?
Yeah, I've played it 3 times.
Sod.
I got it
3 times.
Yeah, It was like
fair.
a 2-day trip, and we had 2 rounds on one day, and then another round, and we then played the par 3. It was amazing to play. Bloody difficult.
I bet. Yeah, you feel guilty if you're taking a divot.
I didn't give a toss about that. I just felt guilty about every crap shot that I hit. But that was, and I remember on the first day I think we played 18 holes, and then we played the par 3, and on the second day we were going to play. And it was only, I think it was 2 weeks before the Masters as well, because you imagine how good a shape they were getting in at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And on the second day, we play 18 holes off the members' tees. And then in the afternoon, we were going to play right off the tips, right off the back tees, where they play the actual Augusta Masters, which was, whenever I play golf, we always tended to try and play off the back tees because you wanted to test yourself. And this was... Oh my goodness, how difficult it was from the back there. I mean, it was you're hitting shots into greens with 3 irons and rescues and all that onto greens designed. I'm sorry, rest of football listeners, if you're not into golf at all, but it was so incredibly difficult. And I remember we got to the 16th. There's water on the left, little par 3, where Tiger famously chipped in when the ball just dropped in the hole with the Nike logo on it. And we got to the 16th, and on the green, practicing around the green, was Phil Mickelson. And he shouted back, "Come on, guys, just play through." And we've gone, "No, you're all right. Carry on, Phil." We didn't want to embarrass ourselves on that point. But yeah, I managed to play it. I was kindly invited to play. And I presented the golf for a while, so I did a few Masters tournaments.
Micah, try and look interested. Look, we're talking about golf and he's fallen asleep.
Wakey. Here's one. Quite interesting question. Phil Turner, what's your biggest pet hate on a football pitch? Mine, this is not mine, this is Phil's, is when players pass up a shooting opportunity because it's on their weaker foot. I can think of more irritating things, probably.
Wingers cutting inside on the other foot and having a shot and not crossing it.
It's purely selfish.
That would do my nutting playing for Man United with those two on Anthony and Garnacho. Keep doing that all the time.
Yeah. Micah?
Yeah, it's a good question, that is. When
Pablo Zabaleta.
Yeah, Zabaleta. when midfielders have the chance to play forward and to play back just to keep their pass completion up, it more annoys me.
Yeah.
What's yours, guys?
I think mine is the squealing, and when players get like a slight tap on your ankle and they go down as though they've been shot by a sniper.
Yeah.
Liam Hayes. Gary, how good was it to work alongside Alan Hansen, and why is he never mentioned when people talk about greatest ever centre-backs? Well, I think he is mentioned, isn't he?
We do.
We certainly would mention Alan Hansen when it comes to certainly great British central defenders, if not great centre-backs from anywhere, because he was a player that, you could conceivably see someone like Alan Hansen in the role, if he was managed in the modern game and the way the playing surfaces are now, that he was such a gifted footballer that you could see him adapting into that kind of John Stones thing. He would have been capable of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, he was a great player, Alan. I played against him probably towards the end of his career, but obviously watched him for years in the 80s. He was magnificent. He was brilliant.
He was great to work with as well.
I mean, he's lovely guy, really nice guy. Yeah.
He's got that kind of him and Kenny. I mean, together, him and Kenny Dalglish together. I mean, talk about taking they love to take the piss, don't they? I mean, they like that kind of irony of the humour and stuff, and sarcastic humour all the time. He was great. He'd come in on a Saturday afternoon and he'd do his analysis and then he'd fall asleep on the sofa sometimes in the second half. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, great guy.
Well, that'll do us for this week. Thanks once again for sending in so many terrific questions. It's always a fun episode. And that's it for this week. We'll be back on Friday. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.